why you gotta be careful where you eat from. You can't eat from everybody in every restaurant. Okay? Look at it, y'all.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all the supporters, man, who's watching the videos entirely. Commented down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
This guy made gasoline out of plastic and now he's missing.
Take a look at this.
He's calling it
Plastiline, Plastadiesel.
It's a great
Gasoline,
name.
alternative made for plastic waste. Diesel, alternative made for plastic waste. Tried in old engines, new engines, large engines.
And now he's been missing for 2 weeks, y'all.
Works.
Big oil, big gas does not want this guy loose. Nobody has heard anything from this guy in the past 2 weeks. I hate to say it, y'all, but they might have got him. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay weird.
That's messing with some powerful companies, bro. To make gasoline from plastic, that's basically accessible for anybody to have access to it. And you know those big oil companies, man, they do not like that one bit. So, what do you guys think happened to him, man? Hopefully, he's just laying low. I guess that's the best advice I would give to him, because you just know, man, that there's going to be a target on his back. Sad but true.
That's why you gotta be careful where you eat from. You can't eat from everybody in every restaurant. This video I'm about to show you is why. Okay? Look at it, y'all.
I don't know what that is.
I wanted to know how I've been sitting here eating this meat, and I noticed a row of teeth in my shit.
Look at that, y'all. What the fuck is that?
They got the top and bottom jaw in my shit.
Bottom jaw. Oh, no.
I just sat here eating this food and bit into somebody over.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all. She better than me because I would have pulled over everywhere. If this not from a human, I need y'all to let me know in the comments what type of animal got teeth like us. Bruh, that junk got cavities and all. That look like somebody 50-year-old teeth. That's why I always tell people, be careful where you get your food from, who you get your food from, what restaurants you get your food from.
Preach,
because
brother.
at the end of the day, you never know. It can be shit like this. Only thing I'm trying to figure out is, who is this girl? Y'all let me know down below in the comments. Who is she? Because she didn't say where she from, and she didn't say what restaurant this was. So I'm curious. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it down below in the comments. This shit crazy.
You are black, brown, gay, Muslim, or Jewish, you are not welcome here. Because this is a new whites-only community being built in America, and they call themselves Return to the Land. And if you don't hold what they consider traditional values, or have European ancestry, then you are not allowed in. Bro, even the dog is white. Now, the settlement is based in the secluded Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and the founders call it an international community based on shared ancestry. Oh, and that they are simply preserving their culture. Not only that, but they also claim this is not segregation. This is merely free association, and that they have the right to have control over who their neighbors are. The men are expected to work hard in leveling land and building cabins, while the women look after the kids and cook. Those are the traditional values that they were talking about. And because Return to the Land aims to promote strong families and common ancestry, they're even offering cash prizes to couples who have kids. And while they currently only have about 40 people living here, they apparently have hundreds of paying members around the world. They also say they want to build more communities like this across America, and even in other countries too, with 3 more currently in progress, coming to a woods near you. But if you thought that was wild, It gets crazier, because in a recent interview, the leader of Return to the Land, Eric Orwell, described Adolf Hitler as merely a controversial figure, and that the mainstream view of him is one-sided. Now, you're probably wondering, how is this even legal? Well, it isn't. Probably. Maybe. You see, according to the community, who have apparently spent tens of thousands in legal research, well, they say that they've technically set this up as a private club. And so because of that, they believe that they're exempt from equality legislation. However, legal experts disagree. And the Arkansas Attorney General said that he wasn't even aware of what was going on. But now his team are reviewing the matter. So yeah, basically the community's legal status hasn't been tested yet in court. So the question is, what do you guys think?
I'm gonna need you guys' thoughts down below. That's all I have to say on that one.
This is our house. I'm really upstairs. This is our dad. This is Robin from next door.
Why, hello there, Robin. It's very nice to have you as our new neighbor. I'm the professor.
Yeah, he made us in his laboratory by accident.
Well, what can I say?
Don't worry, Professor. I was an accident too. Your dad is funny.
Pedro Pascal is getting a lot of criticism this week because people say he's getting way too touchy with his female co-stars, most of which are taken or married women. Some are saying he's getting ridiculous with it, but is this weird or is this just the Pedro Pascal effect? So first, Pedro Pascal is getting accused of being weird towards touching Fantastic Four First Steps co-star Vanessa Kirby. They play a married couple in the movie, but she's very much so married to someone else and expecting a baby with someone else in real life. But they really are touching a lot. Pedro is initiating a lot of it. They're holding hands, he's touching her baby bump. But it is fair to notice that Vanessa is initiating quite a lot of it. Could this be a public display of platonic affection between the both of them? We're going to discuss why Pedro says he does this with all his co-stars, but there are comments saying that it's getting creepy, it's getting ridiculous, and that where's her husband? Is he the invisible husband? To be honest, I would try my best not to get jealous, but I definitely want to have a conversation with Vanessa if I was her husband. Because Pedro definitely has a past of doing this, very touchy with co-stars like Sarah Paulson and Bella Ramsey. There's even that clip of him on SNL with Sabrina Carpenter where he seemingly goes into smack her butt, but then realizes, oh, he can't be that touchy with everyone he wants to, but let's just say Domingo was gagged. And that's a lot coming from Domingo. So here's a video of him touching Willem Dafoe's wife on the chin, clearly crossing the line, a little too handsy. Willem Dafoe points at his hand and he's like, stop, and gets a little serious. Now Pedro Pascal has come out and has told Men's Fitness that the feeling of human connection and human touch has always helped him deal with his anxiety. He especially gets major anxiety going to big movie premieres, being in front of thousands of people, and having a confidant to retreat to and touch and feel them supporting him means a lot to him. Vanessa has even come out and said that they're both incredibly nervous going in front of all the fans, so she actually sees these things as a loving gesture and she's happy to hold him and squeeze his hand back. People have very strong opinions about this, so let me know yours and make sure to follow on all apps in case of a ban for more pop culture updates because I'm happy to be part.
I remember when I just saw, like, on Twitter, it was just like a whole bunch of freaking Pedro Pascal jokes about him, I guess, being too touchy with Vanessa Kirby, but, I mean, if she's cool with it, I guess there really shouldn't be a problem either. As long as she's cool with it and the husband is, then I guess it's okay. I mean, as long as it's not crossing a major line. I don't know. People have really had some thoughts about that.
Serial butt sniffer has been arrested in California again. And yes, this guy has a criminal history of sniffing women's behinds. Now, the story may seem kind of funny up front, but it's actually really disturbing. So this is 38-year-old Khalees Karen Crowder. And about a year or so ago, footage circulated on the internet of this guy actually attempting to sniff women in public. He was actually caught on camera committing this crime. It's really disturbing footage. So he was arrested after that, obviously. It made the news. And he was ordered to register as a sex offender in California. And so he did. But as we often see with sexual criminals, usually they can't control those impulses and they always return to committing the crime. A news release about this recent arrest states a man who has been arrested multiple times for sniffing women's rear ends while in public was arrested again this week for the same crime. This time he was targeting women at a Walmart and at a Nordstrom rack in Burbank, California. Security footage showed Crowder following a female shopper before crouching behind her and appearing to sniff her buttocks. And yeah, he's already on active parole and is a registered sex offender. So I have a feeling that he's going to be going to prison for a decently long time. I just can't believe that these are real news stories in this day and age, that you have to be worried about serial butt sniffers. But if there are updates in the situation, I will let you guys know. And also, if you want to listen to my wife and I's true crime podcast, it is Murder in America, available on all streaming platforms.
Were
No
people
worries.
still alive inside of the Titanic as it sank? Well, testimony from survivors actually suggests that yes, they were. Also, I cover a lot of morbid but interesting things on this page, so you should follow along. As the Titanic sank, we know that part of it was vertical in the water as it went down. And experts have suggested that any of the air still left inside of the ship would have traveled to the top and trapped itself inside of a bubble. Which means that if people were trapped in that part of the ship, they could have survived as it was being brought down to the bottom of the ocean. But what's interesting is that the night it sank, some of the survivors said that 15 to 20 seconds after the ship went down, they heard an explosion under the water, which some people have suggested was actually the sound of the bubble imploding, similar to how the Titan submersible imploded. Basically, at a certain point, the ship would have gotten to a depth where the pressure on the outside was more than the pressure on the inside, and it would have crushed it. However, some experts say this is not possible. The ship was not sealed like the submersible was sealed, and therefore it could not have imploded that way. Regardless, we know that everyone who was left on that ship that night suffered a horrible fate, and if you're interested in more morbidly but interesting content, make sure to follow along.
Have aliens taken over Compton, California? Why do I ask? Because a woman's Ring doorbell camera captured something that looks just like an alien. She got a notification on her doorbell cam that something was moving outside the house. When she looked, she could not believe what she captured. As a matter of fact, take a look at this video. Look at this. What is that? Take another look at that. You tell me what you think that is right there.
Alien. It's something, man. I don't know if it's somebody in a costume
I
messing around.
froze it exactly where it passes through the camera and enlarged it. Take a look at the shape of the head, the neck, and the back. Does that look like an alleged alien to you, or does that look like a human? Take another look at that. What does that look like to you? Does that look like a human? Does not look human to me.
Not to me.
So should they throw out the Welcome to Compton, California map for aliens? So once again, the question is, what is that was captured on Ring camera in Compton, California? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, I'd love to hear from you.
The video at the
Tell me
end
down
is so
below.
terrifying. I have procrastinated making this TikTok all morning because I am so scared of this. I saw a YouTube short this morning about this. I was so scared that I started crying. I did not know that the Inspector Gadget was half animatronics. Like, it was obvious, but I thought most of it was CGI. It is by Sam Winston, who does almost everything. This scares me so bad, mostly because I have always had a little bit of a phobia of Inspector Gadget. Make fun of me all you want, but this is so scary. I didn't know it was a robot. Like, this isn't real. This isn't real. His ear comes detached, watch. His whole ear-ussy is out. This is so scary. Like, oh my goodness. Like, remember the scene where his head, like, shoots up? That actually was, like, this animatronic, and it just shoots up. Why is this so scary when it shoots up? Like, show me monsters all day, but, like, humanoid, it looks so real, too. I'm flustered. Just watch this video and let me know what you're thinking.
I thought it was CGI as well. I didn't know that was real animatronics.
He didn't die on stage, but something definitely got passed on that night. His last show was really emotional. Fans were literally calling it his funeral. But if you look a little closer, it kind of seemed like a ritual where he passed the torch on to Youngblood. Now, I get people's interests change and interests evolve, and artists change and evolve, but fans that used to hate him now love him. They're even going around and saying he's the next Ozzy, which inspired this fan theory. This is just a combination of a bunch of facts. This is just a fan theory. I am not saying it's true. This is just for fun.
Okay.
In 2022, Youngblood drops The Funeral. Ozzy appears and gives him this gold cross from his neck. Right before Sabbath's final show, Youngblood gives it back to him, and it's now covered in diamonds. And fans think that this is symbolic, like Ozzy offered protection and Youngblood gives it back transformed. Almost like he's saying, I'm ready. At the final show, Youngblood sings Changes. It's incredible, and the song itself is about like grief and evolution. He nails this. And some say that it doesn't feel like a performance, but it rather feels like a ceremony. Backstage, Ozzy tells him, go conquer America first. And that's not casual, it's a mission. It's like a king blessing his heir. You can even see during this part that Youngblood is on his knees, bowing to him. And yes, he is a king of music, but also maybe this is a little deeper. People notice Youngblood looks like a young Ozzy and an early Kelly. And at certain points, Kelly and Sharon have literally said it. It's not like vibes. It's almost like they're checking if this transfer worked. In the funeral video, Ozzy touches Youngblood's forehead, and right where his third eye is in his forehead. And in occult symbolism, that is a spiritual trade-off. Legacy, power, energy. The Osbournes don't hype anyone up like this. But with Youngblood, it's socials, interviews, shows, they are loud. It feels like more than support. Maybe they have chosen him. Do you think there was a spiritual transfer? Do you think there was a ritual that worked? Over here for me to read the victim of a serial killer's diary.
What do you guys think about that, man? I know it was just a fan theory, but we've heard weird things happen in music before though, so I don't know if you can rule it out, but maybe it's just a theory and just leave it at that.
Not gatekeeping something down there. I don't know what this is. An amateur pilot just flew over Antarctica and is now being detained against his will. His name is Ethan Glow, and he was met with men in black suits upon landing there who placed him under arrest. Ethan was on a mission to raise $1 million for childhood cancer research by being the first person to fly solo over all 7 continents in the world. After journeying for over 360 days, the last continent on his list was Antarctica. He was flying from Chile to Argentina, performing an extended flyby of the Antarctic Rim he was later planning on going to, when poor weather conditions forced him to make an emergency landing in a public airfield on King George Island in Antarctica. At first, he was met with the airport security team and firefighting staff to make sure he was all good, and they welcomed him into their base. Everything seemed fine, and he was even cleared to continue his journey after about an hour, when all of a sudden, men in black clothing came and arrested him as he was about to leave. They took his phone, strip-searched him, inspected his entire plane, impounded it at a local hangar, and then finally placed him in a holding cell under guard supervision, denying him access to Wi-Fi or any contact with the outside world. Turns out, those men in black suits were the Chilean Navy, claiming he violated international aviation rules by submitting a false flight plan to Argentina and then faking an emergency to land in Antarctica. But as mentioned, this is a public airfield in Antarctica, which isn't owned or governed by the laws of any country in the world. And typically, emergency airplane landings grant you immunity from regulations and protocol to ensure your safety above anything else. Yet they threw all that out the window and placed him on a 90-day travel ban while they investigate, and now he's just stuck in Antarctica. And he can't even leave the facility he's in without being supervised by a guard at all times. Not like there's anywhere he can go, but he's now essentially being held hostage in the most remote continent in the world. Which begs the question, did he see something during his flight he wasn't supposed to and is now being debriefed to forget what he saw? Or does the Navy really just care about following aviation guidelines in Antarctica that much?
Rappers reacting.
What do you think?
Their prison sentences. Take K.
You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased. And that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. But you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There's a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.
He just a stone cold. Didn't show no emotion when he said 80 years. You know, some other people be breaking down hysterical.
This happened in Japan.
No, what happened?
They finally made technology and devices that you can replay your dreams.
They have that now?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And it's like a modified MRI type of thing.
Yeah.
And then like there's another machine where all these wires connected to your head, and those wires, with the use of AI, they try to study your brain patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they put 3 people to sleep, right? And they put the machine on them. The AI machine also measures like the brain patterns, and it creates a video and images on the screen.
Shit, on a screen?
Yeah, so when they woke up and they described it, identical. The person saying like, this is what happened in the dream, the AI picture video, same shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So right now, they said it's 60% accurate.
Why?
In the early stages. So imagine they perfect that AI, oh no, it might be rap.
She was checking on her horses, and she sees this. A girl named Logan from Texas was getting her horses ready for bed, but as she was about to be heading back inside, she captured something terrifying on video.
I don't see it. What she saw? Oh, that looks like a
horse and rider can be seen riding in the arena, but when you look closer, you can see completely through them. Comments suggest this is the time shadow theory, and she captured a glimpse into a parallel universe, while others believe she captured the spirit of a man and his horse riding in the afterlife. What makes this video more intriguing is Logan has never posted any videos related to the paranormal, only her and her horses. Did she see a glimpse into another world, or the footprints of the past? Tell me what you think.
This is a real photo of a man in a gimp suit running around terrorizing people in the UK. One woman reported hearing heavy breathing in the bushes, and then this man came out touching his groin. He would jump out at his victims and try to attack them. However, whenever his victims would scream or make loud noises drawing attention to them, he would run away and disappear into the woods. You can understand how this is scary. One of his victims was walking through a park at night when this huge guy in a silhouette rubber suit was running towards her. He was grunting hard like he usually does, and just acting extremely odd. A few of his victims were men as well, and one man actually got a video of him crawling out of the woods, covered in dirt for some reason. After many people were coming forward about this weird attack, he would be identified as a gardener by the name of Joshua Hunt. Let me show you the video the man got of him crawling out of the woods.
Let's check it out. If I see something like that, man, they're trying to attack me, we throwing hands, bro. I ain't going down without a fight.
Now, luckily nobody was physically hurt, however, they were emotionally harassed. He was sentenced and charged and asked to pay his victims several $100s, or several £100 because this is in the UK after all. But this led to a rise of Gimp Men across the UK terrorizing people all over. This is still happening today in 2024. This incident first took place in 2019.
This is still happening today to this year.
Police body cam footage captures something very eerie.
Like she was told to sit down, just be cool. Obviously she ain't doing that. I ain't see it yet. Oh, what the hell? It's movement.
You guys remember that story, the Titan sub that went down to the Titanic and exploded?
Yeah. I saw the video of the wife listening to the sound. That's
crazy though. This guy, Stockholm Rush, they did one dive down to the Titanic, and on their way up, there was just loud boom. And this happened before when they tested their previous submarine in the Bahamas, and that big loud pop was the carbon fiber hull starting to snap. And so he's like, don't worry about it. And so they got up, they were fine, everyone's like, cool. And it's like, okay, we'll come back after winter to do more exploration or whatever.
Sure.
And so they brought it back to Canada, no modifications. They didn't look to see if there was a crack. They left it in a parking lot in Canada over winter.
The same vessel?
The same vessel.
Wow.
And then here comes spring. It's like, okay, now we got these billionaires that want to go on. So they going down, boom, gone. The craziest part I got from this documentary, Stockholm Rush, his father was the president of Bohemian Grove. Ooh, that's cool. So Bohemian Grove is a club located north of San Francisco in the woods, and that's where like all the elites go like once a year. It has that giant Moloch god that they all do this like
Stuff that they do there, that's where we don't know, but it's 100% confirmed that it's a real place. All these leaders meet there. Who knows what they're doing?
Well, the beginning of robot domination is here. Tesla just opened that new diner, and let's just say this: they don't need a lot of humans working there. If you're into 1950s nostalgia, if you're into an electric supercharged station, this place is definitely going to be for you. This place is huge, and not only is it huge, this place has a built-in movie theater. Also, this place is going to be a place where if you have a Tesla, you'll be able to bring that Tesla there and charge that Tesla while you out there eating. It's going to be one of the biggest charging stations in Los Angeles. But that's not all. A large percentage of the business is going to be ran by robots. Yeah, you guessed it. And those Tesla robots that's going to be running it is the introduction to the end. If you really wanted to visit this place, it's at 7001 West Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles. And I know for sure everybody that has a Tesla is going to go check it out. Check it out. They're saying that charging port over there is going to be able to charge those Teslas up to 40% in 10 minutes. You know how much electricity? Well, you understand. What I will say, the good thing about this is, if you ever seen the Jetsons, it's something like that. Real futuristic. So we get a chance to see that. But let me know what you think about it.
He just stared at me and then goes, "Oh, I just wanted to get him out of your lap so you could get up and help me." Which was weird. That didn't make any sense.
So it turns out that this mother lied about everything. She claimed this man tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son at Walmart. He was arrested and put in jail. So basically on March 18th, Mahendra Patel went to Walmart to get some Tylenol. He couldn't find the aisle, so he approached this woman named Caroline Miller and asked for help. But after their interaction, she called police and claimed that he tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son and then he fled. The surveillance footage shows zero proof of that, but yet 3 days later, police went to his house and arrested him. Mahendra was charged with attempted kidnapping, assault, battery, and was held without bond. When the surveillance footage was released to the public, everyone was really upset that this innocent man was put in jail for something he clearly didn't do. He was finally granted a $10,000 bond and was released after 49 days. This woman, I don't know what her intentions were or what the point of this really was, but she has not been charged at the moment, but I really hope that she has some serious consequences, because to try to ruin someone's life for absolutely no reason is crazy. Also, why wasn't the surveillance footage reviewed before arresting this man?
Preach. Literally, the footage was there in 4K. They didn't even check before they arrested him. And he still had to pay that mom, man. I'm suing her, bro. I need my money back. Plus interest, plus more on top of that, man. I'm innocent. I ain't do nothing wrong, man. She just was capping for a story. They do anything for clout, man.
A Million, Part 1. In 1984, Michael Jackson's hair caught fire during the filming of a Pepsi commercial, a moment that marked the beginning of his long struggle with pain and prescription drugs. Eerily, that day, January 27, 1984, was the exact midpoint of his life. 9,282 days after he was born and 9,282 days before he died. In 2013, a vet clinic in Ohio discovered a turtle with the word God naturally spelled out across its shell. In 1989, a Soviet jet fighter pilot mistakenly ejected just after takeoff from Poland. The aircraft continued flying for more than 500 miles on autopilot and ended up all the way in Belgium, only to crash into a house, killing an unlucky teenager. In 2012, a British man bought 5 amateur paintings for a mere $5 at a Las Vegas garage sale. When he decided to reframe one of them, he found a piece of paper behind it that turned out to contain an original sketch by Andy Warhol. His signature was also etched into the back, giving it a value of at least $2 million.
Damn.
On November 26, 2012, something happened for the first and only time in the history of New York City. For the entire day, there was not one single report of a violent crime. In 1957, a woman attending a Phillies game was hit with a foul ball that broke her nose. The game was briefly paused, then resumed once the woman was put on a stretcher. As they carried her away, the very next pitch was fouled off and hit the same woman, breaking a bone in her knee.
Yeah, she's just
This is the most disturbing Japanese serial killer that you've never learned about.
This is Tosomo Mayuzaki, and this is his real hand.
If his name is hard to pronounce for you, don't worry about it. You can call him his nickname, the Human Dracula. Now, the reason you might not have heard about this case is because the details of this case are so disturbing that Japanese media tried to hide this. From 1988 to 1989, he was convicted of abducting, murdering, and mutilating young girls from the ages of 4 to 7. The way he would do this is he would drive to a local park or maybe even a playground, and he would have a friendly conversation with these young girls so that way they'd be able to trust him. The second they were able to trust him, he would then lure them into his car by saying, "Hey, I'll give you a ride somewhere." Once the child would get in his car, he would then strangle them and then mutilate their bodies. As if this isn't the worst part, he would collect their hands as trophies, he would grind up their bones into a powder, put it inside of a package, and mail it to the victims' families. The reason he did this is he enjoyed taunting the victims' families by basically saying, "You're never gonna catch me." He would also drink their blood and even eat the hands. But boy was he wrong, because in 1989 he was literally caught in the act of trying to pick up a little girl. He was arrested and put on trial, and he never took accountability for what he did. He had no remorse, and he kept blaming it for his alter ego. He was eventually executed in 2008, and this is why your parents tell you to never trust strangers. There are so many disturbing cases in Japan, but Japan doesn't like people to know about them because they try and keep everything really discreet. They basically don't want the public to freak out about all of these cases, but if you want to know the real deal secrets behind Japan, make sure to hit the like and follow button, and I'll explain them some in the next video.
Have you guys seen this video that's gone viral of this woman getting sucked into the ocean while walking on the beach with her boyfriend? So this happened on June 16th in the city of Sochi in Russia, when this 20-year-old woman was walking on the beach with her boyfriend when these huge waves began hitting them. At first, it didn't seem too serious and they probably didn't feel threatened, but after a while, the waves got bigger and stronger. This poor woman is then seen being swept into the ocean while her boyfriend was able to run out. He then tries to find her, but at this point it seems like it's too late. What's crazy is that this was all caught on camera, and it was reported that after 3 days she still wasn't found. This is so tragic and sad, and it's a reminder that the ocean can be unpredictable and dangerous.
There's this psychological idea that you should probably know about because it applies to all humans that aren't aware of it, called the illusory truth effect. And it basically states that you can get the edge on somebody's entire belief system as long as you tell them something first. So if you go and tell somebody and go on about how bad a movie is, and then they go and hear somebody say like, "Oh, the movie's actually pretty good," they're just going to focus on the bad. Same if you go and tell somebody like, "Oh, this restaurant is really good," and then somebody else says that it's bad. They're just going to focus on the good because that's what they heard first. It's literally the idea that you will believe the first thing that you hear. Little extra fun fact, this is actually the entire idea behind conservatism and traditional values. I wish you luck with this new piece of information.
That's dangerous, man. Believing the first thing that somebody says. Especially today, man. You got to be able to form your own opinion. Use your own brain, man. Judge for yourself.
This is one of the saddest stories I've ever heard. This is Mary Ann Bevan. The world labeled her as the ugliest woman in the world, but no one ever stopped to ask who she really was. She was just a mother, fighting to survive. Mary was once a nurse in England. She was a beautiful woman, but everything changed after her husband, Thomas Bevan, died in 1914. Soon after, she began to show signs of a rare condition called acromegaly, a disorder that caused her face and body to grow and distort painfully. People were staring at her all the time. Even the doctors weren't able to help. She had no money, she had no help, and she had to feed 4 of her children. Mary entered a contest, the Ugliest Woman in the World contest, and she won. Not out of pride, out of necessity. After that, she joined a circus to make some money. She stood on stage and she was laughed at. She was mocked, but she held it in. She endured it, all of it, because all the money she made went to her children. Mary endured cruelty for her children's future. Mary Ann Bevan was never ugly. She was brave, and her sacrifice was the most beautiful thing about her.
Iron Eyes Geeks presents Light Out.
Here's what would happen if you got swallowed by a whale. The blue whale is the largest animal on the planet, with its tongue weighing as much as an elephant. However, you shouldn't be worried about a blue whale because it's almost impossible for them to swallow a human, but you should be worried about the sperm whale. The first thing that would happen is you would be shredded by its razor-sharp teeth, which are each as big as a kitchen knife. But let's say you're lucky enough to make it past all 50 of the whale's teeth. You'll now move down the whale's throat and find it hard to breathe due to a lack of oxygen. Then you would feel hydrochloric acid eat away at your skin. After this, you will drop into the first of 4 of the whale's stomachs, and you might even see a bioluminescent squid like this. But as you go from stomach to stomach to stomach, the hydrochloric acid will break down your skin, turning you into a skeleton.
Okay, stay away from sperm whales.
Here are some more amazing facts that you didn't know. A man in Texas named Rogelio Andeverde was abducted from his home right in front of his wife by 2 masked men with guns. He returned 2 days later unharmed, but it was later discovered that he staged his own kidnapping, just so that he could go out and party with friends. When they made Breakout for Atari...
I never knew that fact.
This is why you should be scared of mirrors. Reddit user Liberated Man said that when he was about 12 years old, he woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. He walked across the hall to the bathroom, hit the lights, and was about to reach for the toilet when he glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It wasn't his face. He said that it was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right, with their face right next to the glass, staring at him. He only saw it for the briefest moment, but it seared into his brain. He screamed and ran out to find his dad. His dad, of course, investigated and then calmed him down, or tried to. They had a prayer session because he was so freaked out. Eventually, he went back to sleep. He said that fast forward to his 30s, he had forgotten all about the event, until one night, while visiting, his dad quietly brings it up. He said, "Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror?" It suddenly came back to him in a rush of a memory, sending a chill down his spine. He said, "Yeah, I remember." And then his dad said, "Well, sometimes I think about that night." He looked down at the floor with a serious expression, and then he said, "I saw it too." He went on to describe exactly what Reddit user Liberated Man had seen. Neither of them have any idea what it was. Apparently, when his dad went to investigate, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. And the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as it was his son's.
So it's for both of them, man. I don't know what they saw.
These are some of the creepiest real clowns throughout history. Number 1 is Bozo the Clown. It's commonly thought that Bozo is considered kind of the prototype of most 20th century clowns. Hugely popular with audiences throughout the 60s, but eventually walked this line where younger audiences couldn't decide, is he funny or is he disturbing? Number 2 is John Wayne Gacy. Gacy is infamously known for the horrific nature of his crimes, where he accumulated more than 20 victims. But the clown character he would do, I think, is the eerie component to this story and why people remember it, because behind all of this makeup and these costumes, he was doing unspeakable things. Number 3 is Wrinkles the Clown. If you don't know the story behind Wrinkles, he is an unknown man from Florida who you can call anytime, anywhere, and he will come, dressed as Wrinkles, and terrify whoever you want. The creepiest part about him is that he will go as far as to hide within a home to scare people.
Okay, stay away from Wrinkles the Clown, man. We don't do clowns over here.
So somebody insults you. They're trying to get under your skin. Here are 3 hacks that are not only going to make them look stupid, but feel it too. If somebody is going out of their way to insult you, don't insult them back. Don't dignify them with the response. Instead, try the stare down method, where you just look at them with no emotion, maybe a little bit of confusion, but this shows that you don't give a fuck. 9 times out of 10, this is going to throw somebody off enough to stop, but if they don't, misinterpreting an insult can go one or 2 ways, okay? 1, you take it as a compliment, which is really going to confuse a person. Or 2, you act confused. Really get them to explain what they're trying to say to the point that it doesn't even make sense when they're saying it anymore. And if all else fails, just agree with them. And I can already hear you being like, Bella, why would I agree with somebody that's insulting me? That is stupid, okay? I get it, but listen, you're going to agree and exaggerate because it makes people uncomfortable. If somebody's like, oh my God, do you never shut up? Be like, actually, no, I don't. My parents used to duct tape my mouth as a child just to get me to stop talking.
So you put the reverse Uno card on them. Okay.
Oh no. No, 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 silly. To dry it. No, no, no. But it exploded. and they were both found dead.
The past 24 hours, this dark web website has gone absolutely insane. As you can see, I'm on the dark web, and we are on what's called the Hidden Wiki. They have everything from financial services to, that one, privacy services, emails, hacking. But today I found something that is absolutely worth sharing. USA citizenship, and if we click the link, you can become a US citizen for like $1,500. Become a citizen of the USA, real USA passport. We offer bulletproof USA passports, social security numbers, driver's license, and birth certificate, and other papers making you an official citizen of the USA. It asks, how do we do it? And it says trade secret, but we can assure you that you won't have any problems getting our papers. It even goes as far as saying you can use your own name or a new name, and information on how to send us your required information. Scan, signature, biometric picture, and etc. will be given after purchase. Now the total price you can see is $4,000, but it looks like your first payment is only $1,500. I was born in the US. However, I'm a little bit tempted to buy it and see exactly how these people do it. Now this is a big goal, but 300,000 likes and I'll do it. That's final. And if I go to jail, somebody to bail me out. Make sure to like and follow.
I had a nightmare about King Kong last night, so I'm going to make that everyone else's problem. This is an animatronic. The video at the end is terrifying, by the way. You can skip and watch it if you want. This video is going to contain a bunch of different King Kong animatronics, but this is the absolute worst one. It is on the Universal Studios ride Skull Kong Island. Kong Skull Island, wow. And like you go on this little tram and bro looks at you through it and he looks really mad. He looks like you just hit on his girl. He looks mad. This is kind of a duplicate of it and look how big it is in comparison to bro. Also, here's another King Kong animatronic used for the movie back in the day, and all of these animatronic parts, sickening. Like, look how tiny that guy is in comparison to this thing. I could never go anywhere near a giant King Kong animatronic. I would cry.
Really?
Like, I have megalophobia so bad, I can barely look at buildings. And I had a reoccurring nightmare when I was little of white gorillas chasing me, probably because I watched the movie Congo when I was 4. And this King Kong animatronic that was made for Madame Tussauds in London and New York. And here's the making of it, if you wanted to be even more traumatized. Here's them putting it together, ugh. And its lip twitches and stuff. It's so creepy. Here's it without its little nose, looking like Voldemort. Its teeth, for whatever reason, they didn't have to make it so hyper-realistic, did they? Like, look how small they are in comparison to this giant. I can't. Like, I showed this picture at the beginning, but like, imagine you're cleaning up and you work in this area of Madame Tussauds and you have to clean it at night and it's just there in the dark. I would cry! Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. Would you be able to go on this ride? Are you also megalophobic like me? Let me know. Megalophobia is a fear of giant objects, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Check it out. I'm good so far. That's too real though.
Her mom performed an exorcism on her because she believed that she was possessed. 3-year-old Aurelie Proctor lived with her 25-year-old mom, Claudia Hernandez, in San Jose, California. Claudia believed that Aurelie was possessed because she would wake up in the middle of the night screaming and crying. Aurelie wouldn't stop, so this made Claudia believe that she was possessed somehow. On September 24th of 2021, around 6:30 a.m., Claudia and her brother drove Aurelie to a nearby church to help with her alleged possession. Claudia grabs Aurelie by the neck and the waist, trying to get her to throw up this evil spirit. Claudia's dad was the pastor of that church and he ends up showing up to help them out. Claudia then puts her fingers down Aurelie's throat and she ends up throwing up a clear/purple liquid. All of this went on for 12 hours, and just the day before, Aurelie was only given 6 ounces of water. Aurelie ended up passing away between 6 to 6:30 p.m. Once it was after 8 p.m., Claudia called 911 to report that her daughter had passed away. Once first responders arrived, they noticed that Aurelie had bruising around her eye, neck, and chest. At the time, no one was arrested because there wasn't enough evidence. A few days later, Claudia set up a GoFundMe to raise money for her daughter's burial. On January 27th of 2022, Claudia uploaded a YouTube video addressing the whole situation. She was not remorseful and basically said it is what it is. On January 31st, law enforcement were finally able to arrest and book Claudia into the Santa Clara County Jail because of that YouTube video, and on May 13th, her father and brother were arrested as well.
4K, man. People self-incriminating themselves. Pitch black middle of the night.
I still can't get over the fact that this woman was released from prison after she drugged her little sister, gave her to her husband so he can essay her and take her life. Paul Bernardo and Carla Jamalka were called the Barbie and Ken Killers and committed one of the most horrific crimes together. They tortured, essayed, and took the lives of these 3 innocent young teens in the early 90s. 15-year-old Kristen French was one of their victims. She was abducted in a church parking lot while Carla pretended to ask her for directions. Paul forced her into their car. In another case, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey was abducted while she waited outside of her house. This was Carla's younger sister, Tammy, and one day Paul told Carla that he wanted her, so she drugged her sister and gave her to Paul to do whatever he wants with her. The girls were tortured for days and disgusting things were done to them while they videotaped everything. Together, they dismembered their bodies and then threw them in the lake. Now, while Paul got life in prison, Carla was able to walk free after 12 years. But not only that, after her release, she changed her name and she was caught working at a private elementary school in Montreal. Her job was to supervise kindergarten students, and when their parents found out, they were pissed off. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't want this person looking after my children either. This was one of the biggest cases in the world, especially in Canada, because of how disturbing their crimes were. People are still confused on how
you are going to hate this woman by the end of this video. This is Georgia Tann, and she is the most notorious child kidnapper in American history. She was responsible for trafficking over 5,000 children, and hardly anyone knows who she was. I just did a 2-part series on her for the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, and to show you how horrible she was, let me tell you a story. One night in Memphis in the 1940s, a woman gave birth. She was given a lot of anesthetics, so she was pretty out of it. But when she comes to, she sees that there's a woman standing in her room, and that woman is Georgia Tann. And she tells this woman that she's a social worker, and she's running this new program for new single mothers who need help, saying that she'll take the baby for a couple of days while the new mom gets back on her feet. And the new mom that hears this is thrilled because she needs as much help as she can get. So Georgia takes the baby, has the mom just sign some paperwork saying it's all okay, and then Georgia and the child are never seen again. And this was a huge part of her trafficking scheme, because the paperwork they were signing was actually drafted by her father, who was a judge. And it rescinded all of their parental rights, but the moms didn't know that's what they were signing because they were still so out of it from the anesthetic. The children would then be put up for sale, and because these mothers were single and poor, oftentimes no one wanted to help them. I know it sounds like it's straight out of a horror movie, but a lot of people were affected by this. I mean, even Ric Flair was one of the trafficked children. There is a lot more to this story, and we go over all of it in the 2-part series that we just did for the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
One in a Million, Part 2. Venus the cat became internet famous for having a face split perfectly down the middle. One side black with a green eye, the other side orange with a blue eye. She's a natural-born chimera, meaning her body contains the DNA of 2 separate embryos fused into one. In 2015, Massachusetts man Richard Knoll needed to break a $100 bill. So he went to a local convenience store and bought a couple of scratch-off tickets for the first time in his life just to get the change. It turned out to be one of the best off-the-cuff decisions of his life, since one of the tickets was the $10 million jackpot winner. In 2013, ABC News reporter Amy Roback had a mammogram taken live on TV to promote breast cancer awareness. It just so happened that she actually did have cancer, and the procedure likely saved her life. In 2013, a 39-year-old Brazilian woman named Adriana wanted to find her mother who abandoned her when she was a baby. So she went on a TV show and ended up finding her mom through the power of the internet. The two had an emotional reunion, but her mother revealed that she had also abandoned Adriana's infant brother, Leandro. In a shocking twist, Adriana's husband, whom she had a daughter with, turned out to be her biological brother, Leandro. But despite the pair being siblings, they vowed to never separate.
Annabelle the doll is currently on tour, and buildings keep burning down around her. So if you don't know, Annabelle the doll is currently being toured around the United States on this Devils on the Run tour. The New England Society for Psychic Research is bringing her to all of these haunted locations around the country so that people can get the chance to see her in real life. But people have noticed that wherever she goes, disaster strikes. For instance, the day after she left New Orleans, the largest antebellum South plantation, which is located in Louisiana, burned down with no hope of recovery. It's called the Nottoway Plantation, and it's just a horrible place. place. It was built in 1859 by enslaved people and held up to 150 enslaved people at a time. Also, a lot of the enslaved people that died while working the plantation were buried on the property. But recently, people noticed that it's been completely whitewashed. If you go on the website, there's nothing there that talks about the dark history of the place, and it's currently being used as a wedding venue. That is until Annabelle was there the other day and the whole thing burned down. Now, people have a bunch of different theories as to why this happened. I know the plantation itself has come forward and said that it was an electrical issue that caused the fire, but people have also mentioned that other historical buildings in New Orleans have caught fire after Annabelle left. So is it Annabelle or is it something else? She's not done on her tour. She has at least one more spot. She's going to Gettysburg, this orphanage, in July, so I guess we'll see if weird things keep happening around her.
Here's 5 things our parents lied to us about. Cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. This isn't true. The noise is caused by negative pressure temporarily pulling nitrogen gas into the joint. If you swallow gum, it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. This is not true. It will be excreted within a few days. Sitting too close to the TV will hurt your eyes. This is actually a very popular misconception. A long-term extensive study has shown that myopia in children has nothing to do with this. If you keep going cross-eyed, you'll get stuck like that forever. This is simply false. Your hair will grow faster the more often you cut it. This isn't true. There are a number of factors affecting it, such as age, hormones, and even the time of year.
Dang, man. Some of those facts, bro, were instilled into me as a kid, especially about the TV and the gum fact. Never used to, well, I don't swallow gum, but, you know, staying close to the TV, everybody saying, yeah, we can go blind like that. Or just start losing vision.
Won't believe what happened to this man when his wife almost caught him cheating. 23-year-old Kevin Nascimento, also known as MC Kevin, was a Brazilian famous singer who got married in 2021 to Thiolane Bezerra. But only 2 weeks after their wedding, Kevin and his friend made arrangements for them to meet this model named Bianca Dominguez in a hotel room. Apparently, Kevin was staying in room 1302 with his wife, but later made his way to room 502 to meet Bianca. And I'm sure you know what went down in that hotel room. So while this was going on, Kevin suddenly realized that his wife was looking for him. And in a panic, Kevin ran out onto the balcony and tried to climb his way into the balcony below him to hide from his wife. Unfortunately, Kevin slipped and fell 5 stories. He was found by staff and was rushed to the hospital, but on his way there, he passed away.
Don't cheat. It's not worth it. Yeah, in the middle of the night.
I've never really been the one to believe in orbs, but someone explained this to me. Gabby Petito's family went to the location in Wyoming where her life was taken, and they all took a photo, and there was this thing that came up in the photo. Her family's convinced that that's her presence, and a lot of people also think the same thing. But I've never seen an orb that big. Others have had a different explanation for this, saying that it's the reflection of the sun with the lens, and that's why it created this thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
What is the most disturbing boss fight from a non-horror game? This is my series where we talk about the creepiest bosses from games that were never meant to scare you. And today's entry is likely more disturbing than any of the ones we've covered so far. Today we're going to be talking about the final boss of Earthbound, Giygas. So obviously this thing is visually shocking and has creepy music to boot. But what exactly is Giygas? In the world of Earthbound, Giygas is an alien responsible for destroying the Earth as we know it. He becomes so unbelievably powerful that he has the capabilities of destroying the entire universe, and both his physical body and mind are completely destroyed in the process. Now, you battle him in the past before the Earth is destroyed, and just like Azathoth from the Lovecraft mythos, he's basically referred to as an idiot god. But really, it's the boss's inspiration that makes him so disturbing. In an interview, Etoy, the director of Earthbound, provided some details as to how Giygas was created. The idea came from a very traumatic experience in his childhood. As a kid in a movie theater, he accidentally walked into an adult film, and he described seeing this at a young age as a direct attack on his brain. That idea of lust and violence together inspired Giygas. The interview itself is really cool, and I encourage you to check it out because it goes into a lot more details than I can provide here.
This woman cooked herself alive. There was a woman who was always made fun of for being pale, so she decided to go to a tanning salon near her house. She tried to make an appointment for an hour, but the staff said for her own safety she could only tan for about 30 minutes. After the session, she looked in the mirror and realized her skin wasn't any darker. The next day, the woman attempted to make another 30-minute appointment, and the staff said she could only tan 2 times a week. After the second session finished, the woman again noticed her skin wasn't any darker and she wasn't satisfied. She then came up with a plan. Since she could only go there 2 times a week, she decided to make an appointment every day at different tanning salons. She then spent the next 4 days going from one tanning salon to another. But her skin still wasn't as dark as she wanted it, so she went and got the strongest tanning lotion she could find, and then covered her body in it and got into the tanning booth. The salon staff then smelled something burning in the air and discovered that the woman's tanning bed was on fire. The woman's black burnt corpse laid there dead. When the autopsy came back, it said, by combining tanning lotion and a tanning bed, the woman literally cooked herself alive.
Facts about your dog that you didn't know.
Insane.
Whenever your dog puts their paw on you like this, it's their way of showing that they love you and it's their way of petting you. Your dog actually knows your routine. If you have a pretty normal routine, your dog can tell when you're coming home based off of the amount of your scent left in the house. Even though your dog may look guilty, dogs cannot feel guilt. But on the flip side, dogs can feel jealousy. Anytime you're giving attention to another dog, treats, petting, your dog can feel jealous. When your dog is scooting his butt across the floor like this, he's not just trying to make you laugh. This is almost a sure sign of plugged or infected anal glands, which can collect fluid and can actually be drained manually, or they might be given something for it. Your dog is staring at you while they poop because they trust you and think you'll look out for them while they're vulnerable, while they're doing their business.
Wow. Those dog facts, man. I never knew why the dogs scooch their butts like that.
What is the most disturbing boss fight from a non-horror game? This is my series where we talk about the scariest things from games that were never meant to scare you. And today's entry comes from Echo the Dolphin? What in the Fruitiger Arrow is this? Yes, the colorful, happy, underwater dolphin game for the Sega Genesis has a terrifying boss within it. Because if you manage to get to the end of the game, you see the Vortex Queen.
Oh, what the?
No, but actually, what are we even doing here? This is a kid's game. It's a pitch black arena and you just stumble into it. Just for a second, imagine playing this as a kid and just running into this thing. I would honestly not be surprised if this segment alone gave gamers thalassophobia for life. Now here's a fun fact about the boss. One of its attacks is that it can swallow you up and eat you. But if that happens in the Japanese version, you play a secret stage called the Stomach to get back out and fight the boss again. Nothing else in the game though looks even remotely as scary as the Vortex Queen, so this thing is just a jump scare.
3 scary movies that were based on real stories, and the third one is absolutely insane. Scream just made yet another resurgence of the franchise as kind of the campy classic in the horror genre. But this whole franchise actually has some truth behind the original concept, as it was inspired by the Gainesville Ripper of Florida, who took the lives of 5 students seemingly for no motive other than just to gamify the killings. He even posed the bodies so that when others found them, it was horrifying. Child's Play is a movie that I would have never imagined to have had some truth behind it. But the original concept that inspired the script was actually based on Robert the Doll, which was gifted to a child in the early 1900s by a woman who practiced voodoo. People claimed this doll could walk and talk on its own. Open water is a nightmare concept of a couple that gets left behind on a boating tour in shark-infested waters. But this exact scenario did happen to a real-life couple who were also left in shark-infested waters.
Wow. Pieces of media based on true
Creepy facts
stories.
that will disturb you. Emperor Nero profited off of human urine. He imposed a urine tax, charging merchants who sold pee. This is because human urine was a valuable and useful product back in ancient Rome. During mummification, ancient Egyptians removed the brain through one of the nostrils. This scary process is called exorabration. Ancient Egyptians were known to insert an iron hook through the body's nostril to draw out parts of the brain that they would then then placed in a jar. Figging is a practice wherein ginger root is inserted into the anus or vagina. In ancient Greece, slave owners used figging to discipline female slaves. They would skin a ginger root into a phallic shape, and the insertion causes an intense burning sensation and discomfort. The practice is mortifying, especially when it could last for an extended period of time.
Never knew that. Ancient Rome was crazy back then.
This is what the animatronic from Adventures of Pinocchio, the Pinocchio, now looks like. If that isn't terrifying, I don't know what is. The video at the end is the reason that I'm scared of whales and have been since 1996. This video, I'm going to be completely unmasking my autism and talking about my absolute hyperfixation with Pinocchio. Like, I have this. It is the gaudiest necklace of all time. But I have carried around this little guy ever since I was 6 years old, and he is my favorite Pinocchio, okay? And here's a picture of me when I was 6 years old, hanging around with him. I have the Carlo Collodi novel right here of the original Pinocchio. I'm currently in the middle of playing the Lies of P DLC Overture, which takes place at an abandoned zoo. It is terrifying, but I love it. This is what the Monstro from Adventures of Pinocchio, 1996, looks like, and that thing is terrifying. But like when people say like, oh, you're faking your reactions and you're actually obsessed with these things and you're not actually scared. No, I love scaring myself. Horror movies are my favorite genre ever. So I love watching things that scare me. I love like looking at abandoned places and things like that, even though it absolutely gutturally terrifies me. So Pinocchio terrifies me, but I love it. And yeah, that's what the animatronic now looks like. And here's what the inside of it looks like. I hate this. Also, if you like Pinocchio, you will absolutely love the movie AI Artificial Intelligence. This is in my top 10 movies of all time. It is like a robot Pinocchio, and it is a freaking masterpiece. Amazing movie. So watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. And can you understand why I'm scared of whales now? Because this is what traumatized me.
Pinocchio? Check this out.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
Sounds like you're scared, buddy. What the? Oh yeah, he's cooked. You're a cook, buddy. Told you he was cooked. All gone. Pinocchio got cooked in that movie. Was that?
Fully supports it. In 2008, 24-year-old Brandon Smith was in a tragic car accident and suffered severe brain injury that changed his life forever. Brandon and Kristen married only 2 years prior, but when Kristen realized that her husband would never fully recover, she filed for divorce. But she agreed to take care of him until the day he dies, and so she filed paperwork to be his legal guardian. After the divorce, Kristen feared that it'd be impossible to find a man who would genuinely love and accept Brandon in their life. But in 2014, Kristen met her now new husband James, and yeah, they both take care of Brandon together despite Brandon being Kristen's ex-husband. At Kristen and James's wedding, he vowed to love Brandon no matter what. Kristen and James have kids together and they treat Brandon like he's part of the family. Kristen says that James has never expressed or shown any jealousy, and instead he's accepted Brandon with wide open arms.
Disturbing facts you wish you didn't know. There's something called anesthesia awareness, which is where you wake up mentally during surgery. You can feel all the pain and you can see, but you cannot move or speak. And the scariest part is, no one even knows you're feeling every cut and incision. And there's stories of people going through 7-hour surgeries feeling every single thing. When you smell something bad, that thing is actually in your nose. When you smell something bad, you're breathing in tiny molecules of that and they're hitting inside your nose. So you might want to be a little careful next time you're inhaling your own fart. Most television laugh tracks were recorded in the 1950s, so you're most likely listening to dead people laughing. Your lip skin is the same type of skin as your anus. They share the same skin because they're the two ends of the pipe called the alimentary canal.
The creepiest places in the world. Gate to Hell, Turkmenistan. It's been burning for past 40 years, and no one knows when it's going to stop.
Lake Natron, Tanzania.
Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
We will not be going there. Check that off the bucket list.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory. Part 5. This man kept finding food in his apartment that he wasn't eating, so he asked his girlfriend about it and she said that she wasn't eating it either. He didn't believe her, so he set up a video camera to catch her eating the food in the middle of the night. The next morning when he checked his video camera, he found footage of a woman that he didn't recognize walking throughout his house. He called the cops immediately, and as it turns out, she had been living there for weeks. This next video shows 24-year-old Hollywood actor James Dean giving a public service announcement on the importance of safe driving habits. Nearly a week later, Dean was killed in a head-on collision where he crashed his Porsche at an intersection. The following is a home video of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer taken on Thanksgiving Day. At the time this was taken, he had murdered and eaten the flesh of 9 people.
Yeah, like I said before, it gets too expensive and I have to start eating at home more.
You know what he was doing? That was some eerie footage. I can all know what he did. Who was that?
This was the real-life Stewie Griffin, and it was pretty disturbing. In the quiet town of Moon City, Rhode Island, a boy named Brock Lee was born on October 10th, 1954. At first, everything seemed normal. Just 6 months in, a deep man's voice echoed through the house at night. Brock's parents, Pete and Laurie, thought their home was haunted. They called in local ghost hunters, but no one could explain it. Hoping to escape whatever it was, the family moved. But the mysterious voice followed them. Then came Brock's first birthday party. As guests gathered, and the TV played in the background, a live police chase broke out on the news. Everyone laughed at how much the fleeing car looked like theirs, until the chase turned onto their own street. To everyone's shock, the car crashed, and their baby, Brock, stepped out, marched inside, and yelled in a deep voice, "Lock the doors!" When police finally entered and arrested him, they discovered the impossible truth. Brock, barely a year old, had the mind of a fully grown genius. The voice haunting their home all year had been his.
1 in a Million, Part 6. In 2003, 24-year-old Juan Catalan was arrested for the execution-style murder of a teenage girl who had just testified in a gang-related case. He spent nearly 6 months in prison and came dangerously close to facing the death penalty. Catalan had a strong alibi. He was at a Dodgers game with his 6-year-old daughter at the time of the killing, but he struggled to find a way to prove it. That was until his lawyer discovered that Curb Your Enthusiasm had filmed at the stadium that exact night. After combing through thousands of hours of raw footage, they found a brief but crystal clear shot of Catalan sitting in his seat holding popcorn with his daughter beside him, accidentally caught in the background of a scene that was never used. Combined with cell phone data confirming he was at the stadium during the time of the murder, the charges were dropped and Catalan was released. Had the camera panned just a few feet in a different direction, an innocent man might have been executed for a crime that he had absolutely nothing to do with.
Caught him in 4K.
This is why you should never approach an abandoned baby carriage. There was a woman who was driving home from work who passed an abandoned black baby carriage. Pulled over to check it to make sure there wasn't a baby inside and see what was going on because it was really weird. Why was it just like in the middle of the road? There was a blanket on top of the carriage so you couldn't see what was inside. Naturally, she pulled the blanket off and she freaked out. She got right back in her car and drove off. Enjoy my stock image. She couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, she could not stop thinking about this. She was really stressed and her husband kept asking her like, "Are you okay? What happened? Like, what's going on?" And she couldn't talk about it. Everything in her life was going wrong. She decided to pack her bags and leave, and no one actually knows where she went or what happened to her. But she did leave a note behind for her husband. Also, this is more what the basket looked like. It looked like an old-fashioned one rather than a modern one. The husband read the note, and the note said this: "Whoever reads this note is doomed to have a cursed life unless you pass it on." So the baby carriage was a trap. The person put the baby carriage on the road hoping someone kind would go look and see if everything was okay, only to then be cursed. Now, I would show you the physical note, but I can't because this is a creepypasta and I tricked you. Let me know if you fell for it. Come over here if you want to see more of my content.
Imagine going to a family Christmas dinner and almost everyone dies from poisoning. This woman tried to kill her husband's entire family by giving them a cake she baked that was laced with arsenic. 3 family members passed away, 3 others were hospitalized, and this woman who poisoned everyone ended up taken on December 23rd when 42-year-old Diaz Mora baked a cake and invited her husband's entire family over. That evening, they began cutting the cake that they would normally eat on Christmas Eve, and almost everyone complained about the taste and that it tasted a little weird. But they still ate a significant amount of cake, and almost everyone felt sick right away, and 3 people died right then and there. Investigators tested all the ingredients in the house and found that the flour used in the cake was laced with arsenic. But what's absolutely crazy is that a couple of months earlier, Diaz's father-in-law also suddenly died, and they exhumed his body and found high levels of poison. So they think that she also took his life. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, what was the motive? Why did she do this? At first, the family didn't understand what caused her to commit this crime, but then they thought about it and they remembered a disagreement they had 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and they believe that she might have not got over this disagreement, and that's why she tried to unalive everyone. But things don't even end there, because while Diaz sat in prison, her husband told her that he wanted a divorce, and a day later,
there is a country in Europe where kids don't have to give exams. They only go to school for 4 hours. They have almost zero homework, and they even have the longest vacations. Welcome to Finland. Here,
Shout out Finland.
School works very differently. Little kids get no homework because they realize that in most countries,
away before help arrived. After Yasser took the lives of his 2 daughters, he fled for 12 years. He was captured in 2020 and he's been in prison for more than 4 years, and now he finally gave his first interview where he basically denied everything. Throughout this entire interview, he did not seem regretful for what he did, and instead he tried to tell a different story and claimed that he was the victim.
You make it sound like you're the victim here. Is that what you believe?
Exactly.
You're the victim?
Yes.
And said that he was being framed because of a conspiracy. According to Yasser, the FBI and the media used his case to push a political agenda.
I want my voice be heard. The FBI knows that. My case is being used to achieve cheap political points.
Cheap political points?
Yes.
You say the FBI knows that you are innocent?
They know that, and I will tell you why.
Let me ask you this. In your letters to the judge, right, you write, in my case, you could smell conspiracy in the atmosphere.
Yes.
So that's what this is about. Conspiracy, conspiracy, conspiracy.
Of course.
Cat.
How are y'all feeling? How are y'all feeling? I see the smile.
Have been in court for the past 7 weeks, hearing graphic details of their father's sex life. Their support, though, has remained steadfast. Now they're learning to.
We heard Diddy, some of the charges got dropped.
Psychology facts that'll blow your mind. You're programmed to like the music you listen to in high school the most. From the ages of 12 to 22, everything feels more important, so we tend to emphasize everything that happened in those years. We're programmed to see human faces in almost everything. Your brain is programmed to process images for emotional expression, which is why so many people can find human faces in so many random things. When you remember the past, you're not actually remembering the past, you're remembering the last time you remembered. Your brain treats rejection like physical pain. The same areas of the brain become activated when we experience physical pain and when we experience rejection. Sarcasm is a sign of a healthy brain. People who could instantly use sarcasm to a trivial question tended to have healthier minds.
Is this proof that the Pyramid Lake babies are real? There's a lake in Nevada called Pyramid Lake, and it holds a dark, tragic secret. Hundreds of years ago, a group of pirates lived around the shores. And these pirates were known everywhere for being really strong and, indestructible. Whenever they had a baby in the tribe that was born weak or premature or malformed, they would throw it into the lake because they didn't want to be associated with anybody like that. And their twisted belief came from removing the weak at birth. But their terrible actions ended up cursing this lake forever. Now the spirits of these babies haunt this lake. These are babies who never even got the chance to live, and they are known as the Pyramid Lake Babies. Since they were robbed of their lives, they are known to be filled with anger. At night, their restless souls will rise from the water. They will fight, they will scream, they will wail, and their noises will be echoing around the lake. They're searching for a way to get revenge on the tribe that abandoned them. So if you're ever near Pyramid Lake and you hear cries or just strange noises, don't try to help. These spirits do not want to be saved. They want to trap your spirit forever. You can come over here for longer freaky videos.
There are a lot of updates coming out about the Idaho case. So this is really just a recap, just to report out everything that's being reported publicly, keep people informed. And this has been double sourced not only to the reporting sources that first put it out, but also to the police press conferences. Now that Brian Cobberger is in custody as their lead suspect, it is being reported that his DNA was found on the button of a sheath to the knife that was possibly used in the murders. There's also a public affidavit that might have leaked or it was publicly put out that shows that DM, which we're assuming might have been the roommate, was awake and saw him at the time of the murders. They supported this even further by saying that there was security camera footage that's now being made public from 50 feet away from the house at around 4:17 a.m. where you can hear the dog barking. And further confirmations from some of that leaked information that suggested that Xana Kernodle was most likely awake at the time of her murder. Also evidence that Brian was trying to apply and work for the police department that would be investigating his own murders.
Wow, what the hell? What?
Government is who you blame if you feel that these victims didn't get justice because he was guilty of the domestic violence and all those things. But you know what they did? They swung for the fence and they went for a RICO.
Basically today the jury decided that a FRICO is not a RICO. How do you feel about the verdict today?
I'm very happy. I feel like justice was served. I've been to a few of his parties and there's been nothing but generosity and positivity, and I've never seen anything negative ever.
I'm an independent journalist that had predicted this was going to be what happened. I said the RICO is weak.
Right. Hopefully he do get some therapy. Hopefully he does get some help. Right. Seek some help. Stay away from the D-rugs and the addiction. But my question is for the people that were complicit, that you think he was guilty, what about everybody that got supposed immunities and proffer agreements and all of that?
Whoa, he was spitting, man. This Diddy case, bro. It's going away, man. People wasn't expecting. People thought Diddy was going away. I mean, when most of his charges got dropped, I think that was a sign right there.
This is one of the craziest urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. So almost 100 years ago, there was an aquarium in Australia that had a giant tiger shark on display. And the legend goes that one day, in front of like groups of families, the shark threw up a human arm. And not only is that true, but it opened a murder investigation. Also, this week's episode is all about Australian true urban legends, so make sure you listen. So after the shark threw up the human arm, the police had to figure out whose it was and why it was in the shark's belly. Well, the first thing the police noticed was the arm was cut cleanly, not jagged like it was from a shark bite, meaning that the arm was intentionally cut. So now it's clear that this was a murder, but whose arm is it? Well, one thing they noticed is that the arm has two boxers in a fighting stance tattooed on it. So they end up writing about that in the paper, and one guy who was reading it goes, "Hey, that sounds like my brother's tattoo." His brother was a man named Jim Smith, and he was involved in the seedy underbelly of Sydney society. Jimmy ran insurance fraud scams in Sydney, and he was just involved with a lot of bad people. And the last person he was seen with was one of Sydney's most notorious criminals. The story has a lot of twists, including how was he involved with the last guy he was seen with. And there's a lot of fun Australian urban legends like the story of the Button Man, so make sure you check out this week's episode.
They just found 383 bodies in a so-called funeral home, y'all. Somebody tell me how nearly 400 bodies was discovered in one building and nobody noticed for years. They wasn't cremating them, y'all. They was letting the bodies sit, developing a smell. Do you know how strong that smell had to been? And nobody knew? Yeah, alright. This was at a crematorium right near the U.S. and Mexico border, y'all. And get this, y'all, they said some of the bodies that's there was only there for a month. Y'all, and the crazy part is, family members were getting handed ashes in an urn, thinking it was their family members, and it wasn't the whole time. They was thinking their family members was getting cremated, and the whole time, they were doing some weird shit probably. The Mexican authorities said some of these bodies date back from like 3 to 4 years ago. So they said as of right now, they arrested the owner and some of the employees that work there. I don't know, but it feel like something dark going on behind this shit. They said this was in a cartel heavy zone in an area called Juarez, right across from El Paso, Texas, y'all. They said in that area, a lot of trafficking or disappearances take place. So if they found all these bodies in this one place, how many other places are doing the same thing? And how many family members were being lied to, saying they were giving their family ashes when the whole time their bodies was still in the same place? I need y'all thoughts on this as always. This shit crazy, fool.
Yeah, that's an important question, man. I saw that was tragic. Football
As I live and breathe, I'm going to tell you that it is still breathtaking. No matter how many times I see this happen, it is still breathtaking to hear someone like this, and I'm going to say it for the first time on air, this sick and twisted murderer. This sick and twisted murderer. It's breathtaking to hear him confess. It's breathtaking to hear him say, yes. It's breathtaking to now know after 2.5 years of him saying, it isn't me, it's someone else. It's you. You are the sick and twisted murderer, Brian Cobberger. Legally, we can say it because he said it. I just can't tell you, it just does not get old to see a dry hearing like this where maybe we didn't get the motive or the details, but we now know that is the sick man that did this.
One of the girls you are looking at in this picture has no idea that in the next few hours she will be killed. This is Cheyenne Rose and Brittany Gargle, and they're doing what every young girl does and taking a selfie. They posted the picture on Facebook and they went out for a night together. The story goes that the two were inside having a drink when Brittany was approached by a man, and the two apparently hit it off so well that she was invited back to his place. Cheyenne messaged Brittany on Facebook asking where she was, but nobody was answering. The next morning, somebody was driving next to a landfill where they ended up discovering the lifeless body of Brittany. The man called the police to report a dead body, and this is where things take a dark turn. The police questioned Cheyenne about what happened, and Cheyenne basically just shows them the messages she was sending Brittany and saying, look, I have nothing to do with this. What Cheyenne is forgetting to tell the police is the messages she was sending to Brittany, she already knew she wasn't going to respond. See, Cheyenne lied about Brittany ever meeting a man. This never happened. Instead, the two got into an argument. Cheyenne took off her belt, as you can see in this picture, and tied it around her neck and strangled her. Cheyenne even went as far as commenting on her Facebook saying, I wish heaven had visiting hours so I could come see you, but I'm so glad you visited me in my dream last night. She was sentenced to only 7 years in prison, and chances are she's probably watching this video. Make sure to like and follow for more true crime stories tomorrow.
What's the scariest urban legend from your state? Today we're doing Missouri. Once again, we're talking about a haunted road, and this one is very creepy. Zombie Road was constructed in the late 1860s. It was originally built to gain access to the Merrimack River and the railroad tracks that were running right beside it. This 2-mile stretch of road had an eerie feel about it from the very beginning, probably because of how dangerous it was to drive along this road. You couldn't see what was ahead of you, and it would often cast really weird shadows. Eventually, this stretch of road would fall into disrepair, and in the 1950s, it became a lover's lane of sorts, where young couples would go to find alone time. They would also throw parties along this road and the likes. But many urban legends have plagued this road from the very beginning. One of the scariest was of a creepy guy who lived along this road in a shack, and he would frequently hurt young teenagers who came to use this area to be alone. People also talk about frequently seeing a woman in white or a woman who is walking along the road who gives off a bluish white light. Many people think that this is the wife of a local judge who passed away in 1876 due to an accident on the railroad track. Some people have even reported hearing a woman screaming at them from some of the abandoned shacks that are around the area, but when they go to investigate who was screaming at them, there is never anybody there. There is also a legend of a small boy who drowned in the river, and people often report hearing him and seeing him, but again, he's just never there. There have been several reports of paranormal activity, but many people just write this off as it's just a creepy trail in the first place. Like, it gives a really weird vibe, and when you feel like you're being watched, you're probably not. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. But others think that this is a hotspot for paranormal activity because of the deaths that have happened there, not just from the judge's wife or the young boy who lost his life or this alleged serial killer that's running around, but there were also many train derailments around this area as well. As it sits today, it's a bike trail. It's called Rock Hollow Trail, and so you can still ride on this road. So would you do it? Are you brave enough? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and follow for more creepy things.
No! The place sounds haunted, man. Too many events, bro, took place there, man. When I go to Missouri, we won't be going there. Another place off the list.
Top 3 creepy last words people said right before dying. A nurse who wants to remain anonymous said that she had a sweet patient named Ella who started to lose herself to dementia. She started talking to herself. Most of the time it was playful. She would laugh to herself. One day, the nurse walked into her room and she was in a complete panic. She had her blanket pulled up to her chin and she was completely pale. The nurse went to her bedside to ask her what was wrong, and she said, "There is a woman in black looking in my window, and I am just petrified of her smile." The nurse said that it shook her hard. Reddit user Simple Simon 6262 said that when he was a student, he got called in on a stroke patient. She had coded and they were doing CPR. They worked for 45 minutes. But she died. They cleaned her up and called on her family to say goodbye. By the time her family left, she had been both brain dead and without a pulse for over 45 minutes. He said that blood had filled her brain and she was completely gray and had started to smell. Suddenly, she sat up and called for her family. The nurses rushed to get equipment and monitors back on her. She stabilized, said goodbye to her family, and promptly died a second time. Reddit user AJH1717 said that he works in a cardiovascular surgical ICU. He said that they had a stretch of nights where each corner room of their unit reported seeing a black cat walking around. Not a friendly cat either, apparently. The thing was hissing at them. The accounts were so similar to each other that they probably spent half an hour looking for the cat. Then they had security look as well. No cat was ever seen or found. 2 of those 4 patients coded the next day.
This funeral home owner left 190 bodies inside of a building and sent fake ashes to all of the families. He is now going to spend 20 years behind bars for this wire fraud. Now, on top of the 20 years, he also has to pay $1 million for the wire fraud, too. In my opinion, maybe he should serve a year for every body he mishandled, so 190 years? And he committed all of this fraud after the families had paid. So these grieving families just wanting, their loved ones to have peace, get cremated, or get buried, they didn't get anything out of this. And he mishandled all those bodies with memories and family values attached to them. He also didn't preserve these bodies in the right way. He let them stack up in various stages of decay and decomposition. It was so bad that there was a foul odor coming from them, and he just kind of hid it. He closed all the windows, he closed the doors, he didn't let anyone access the building to hide these bodies. He delivered the wrong body twice for a burial, and then he sent concrete mix inside of these urns and tried to disguise them as ashes. This guy and his business, biggest frauds of all time. He also tried to take $880,000 from COVID-19 relief funds back in the day, too.
Scientists said the odds of it happening were 1 in 74 trillion. While 34-year-old Ann Hodges was napping on her couch in Alabama in 1954, a softball-sized meteorite tore through her roof, bounced off her radiator, and slammed into her side, leaving a massive bruise but miraculously sparing her life. She had become the only confirmed person in history to be struck by a meteorite. The space rock triggered a legal battle between Ann and her landlord over ownership, but it ended up in Ann's possession. The rock is now on display at the Alabama Museum of Natural History. Tom Cruise divorced all 3 of his ex-wives when they turned 33, and each is 11 years younger than the last. In 2009, a retired policeman named Geraint Wolford was admitted to Abergele Hospital in North Wales. Amazingly, it just so happened that he was put next to another retired policeman named Geraint Wolford. The men weren't related, had never met, and were the only two people in Europe named Geraint Wolford. In 2004, Grandma Dorothy Fletcher suddenly suffered a heart attack on her flight to Florida. When the stewardess asked if there was a doctor on board, 15 people quickly stood up. It was a group of heart doctors on their way to a cardiology conference.
She took the life of her coworker over some Lululemon leggings. On March 12th of 2011, just before 8 a.m., Rachel walked to a Lululemon store in Maryland where she was the manager at. Once she got to the front door, she noticed it was already unlocked. Once Rachel went inside, she noticed that the clothing racks were scattered all over the floor, mannequins were in pieces on the floor, and she could hear a faint moan in the back of the store. Rachel was terrified. She turned around, ran outside, and called 911. Right next door to that Lululemon was an Apple store, and a guy named Ryan worked there as a security guard, and he saw how frantic Rachel was, and he told her that he would go inside to see what was going on. Once Ryan went inside, he followed a trail of blood to the back room, and that's when he found the store supervisor, Jana, unalived. As Ryan turned around to leave, he saw another employee, Brittany Norwood, and she was lying in the employee bathroom. Her hands were zip-tied, her shirt was pulled up, and there was a Lululemon t-shirt around her neck. Although Jana did not survive this attack, Brittany was okay. Once police arrived, Jana was pronounced dead at the scene, and she suffered from 331 wounds from 5 different weapons, including a wrench and a hammer. 200 of those wounds were on her face and her neck, and 100 of them were defense wounds. Jana was alive for the entire attack until a fatal stab wound hit her spinal cord. As for Brittany, she had a gash on her forehead. She received stitches for it and was released from the hospital that same day. Everyone just assumed that this was a robbery gone wrong, but this was far from the truth. On the night of the attacks, Jana and Brittany were working the closing shift together, and around 9:30 p.m. they closed up and left. Once they left, Brittany had realized she left something back inside of the store, and since Jana was the only one with the keys, she asked her to come back to open the door for her. Jana unlocked the door and disabled the alarm. As Jana and Brittany were looking around the store, 2 masked men came in, and they were all wearing black. Allegedly, these guys beat Jana to death, essayed both of the girls, and let Brittany live because she was more fun to do it with. Apparently, this was Brittany's story to police, but police weren't really buying it. When Brittany told police that there was 2 masked men that came in, they started to investigate the place and only saw 2 footprints, which would be Brittany's shoes and a men's size 14 shoes. There was no evidence of SA from either woman, and on Brittany, it wasn't her own blood, it was Jana's. Brittany was caught in a lie, and eventually the truth came out. On the night of the attacks, Jana saw Brittany stuff a pair of Lululemon leggings in her purse and confronted her about it. Once they locked up the store, Jana got in her car, called her manager Rachel to tell her what she had saw Brittany do. A few minutes later, Jana received a call from Brittany telling her she had left something in the store, and that's when Jana turned around to go open the store for her. While Brittany pretended to search for her item, she attacked Jana from behind. She stabbed, beat, and choked Jana for 17 minutes. That night, employees at the Apple store nearby could hear screaming, and they just figured it was nothing. They thought it was just drama going on at the Lululemon store. Once Brittany took Jana's life, she went into her car and moved it. Meanwhile, she was thinking of a plan to stage the scene. She grabbed Jana's blood and put it all over her face, and she cut a hole in the crotch of her leggings. Finally, she grabbed a men's size 14 shoe and walked around the back room to leave footprints to hopefully throw off police. Once Brittany was all done, she zip-tied herself and laid down on the bathroom floor, waiting to be discovered 10 hours later. Brittany ended up being arrested about a week later, and she admitted to everything that she had just lost it at the heat of the moment. Brittany was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This is one of the scariest urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. So there's this stretch of road in Turkey along the D100, and the urban legend says that if your car breaks down on the side of this road, do not get out of the car. Because according to the locals, one night, a few people got into an accident, and when they got out of their cars, they all melted on the road. Well, this is coming from an episode I just did on urban legends that ended up being true, but it turns out there is a reason that they all spread this legend around. In 1965, a passenger bus was traveling down this road when it crashed into a big truck carrying a bunch of water, and it caused water to spill out all over the road. The passengers got out of the bus because they were okay, but when their feet touched the pavement, their shoes started to melt, and it felt like their feet were on fire. And that's because the truck was not carrying water, it was carrying nitric acid, an acid that dissolves skin on contact. As they were on the ground crawling away from the accident, the acid was melting the skin off of their bones. And the worst part in all of this is that a group of 12 people saw a bunch of water that had collected in a drainage ditch and thought they should jump into it to protect themselves. But really, they jumped into a pool of undiluted acid and dissolved within moments. If you want to hear more urban legends and the even scarier stories they're based on, check out this episode of the Heart Sides Pounding podcast, and this is part of a whole series that we do.
Man, another place off the Turkey? That road? We won't be going there, man. A pool of acid, and he thought it was water. They jumped into it not knowing. Chilling. Truly, man.
Morbid Facts, Part 315. In 2006, Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in the Florida lottery and tried to use it to help others, giving away large sums to friends, family, and even strangers. But sadly, his generosity made him a target. A woman named Doris Dee Moore pretended to help manage his finances, slowly taking control of his assets while isolating him from loved ones. In 2009, Abraham suddenly vanished without a trace. Months later, his body was found buried beneath a concrete slab behind Dee Dee's property, shot twice in the chest and covered with lime. In 2012, Moore was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Florence Lawrence, often called the first movie star, rose to fame in the early 1900s and became one of the first film actors to be publicly credited by name. At the height of her career, she suffered a devastating injury in 1915 when a staged fire spiraled out of control, leaving her with severe burns and a fractured spine. Universal Studios refused to pay her medical bills, and her career never recovered. Over the years, she faded into obscurity, taking uncredited roles and struggling with chronic pain and depression. When she died in 1938, she was buried in an unmarked grave, as Hollywood had all but forgotten the woman who helped define it.
First time hearing about
The car wash owner who passed away had a dying wish to shower the streets with money. Just hours after his funeral, a helicopter flew over Detroit and dropped what witnesses believe was around $50,000 in cash. His family thought it would just be rose petals, but he had one last surprise to thank his community.
I want to talk about the hardest part to watch in the new Ruby Frankie docuseries, because the way I wanted to scream every time Kevin was on the screen. So I cover a lot of dark but interesting and informative documentaries, so follow along if that's your thing. But this is a new docuseries about Ruby Frankie, a famous YouTuber who is really abusing her children behind the scenes. But one of the people they spend a lot of time interviewing is Kevin, Ruby's husband and the father of the children she was abusing. And Kevin really tries to paint himself as this sad and brainwashed husband who just wanted his wife's affection and would do anything for it, including watching her manipulate and abuse their children, which he conveniently leaves out. The abuse really starts ramping up when she lets this fraud therapist Jody Hildebrandt live in her house with her family, but that's also when she asks Kevin to leave the family, which he does. And for the next year, he admits that he never saw his children, and he blocked a lot of them so they couldn't even communicate with him. And the doc doesn't touch on this, but if you read Sherry Frankie's book, who's the oldest daughter, you learn that when Kevin stepped away from the family, there was an older man within the church that started abusing her. He weaseled his way into her life by claiming he was the only adult that really cared about her, and he was very controlling, including demanding that she share her location with him 24/7 so he could just see what she was up to. Meanwhile, her dad is nowhere to be found, so she had no one she could confide in. And the worst part for me is at the end when Kevin explains that he didn't really believe the cops when they said that they had rescued his children who had been abused for years by his wife. He figured that Ruby must be telling the truth. Maybe they really were possessed by demons. But then he sees the condition his kids are in and he fully believes that yes, there was abuse that happened. But then the documentary director asks him if he still loves Ruby, and without even a second thought, he says yes. After all this time, after all the abuse she did to his children, he still loved her. Anyways, read Sherry Frankie's book if you can. It's a great companion piece to the docuseries and it gives a lot more information. And buy it if you're able to, because she does deserve to be supported as an author.
Chilling, man. What was that? Crazy freaking demon ladies at the end. Okay. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Hit that post notification bell. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.